Loki, the god of mischief, has returned once again, but this time there's two of them. And one Loki was already a lot to handle, but now we got two of them, which is just going to be absolutely insane. But we did, of course, finally get the reveal of the villain of the Loki Disney Plus series, the identity of this evil Loki variant, which the identity is something we've been theorizing about for a while, that we've heard from rumors, so it wasn't really a big surprise, but it was still really cool to see nonetheless, and I'm really excited to see this villain in the rest of this series, and maybe even the future of the MCU. But anyways, guys, we're going to be talking about this big reveal and everything else going on in Loki Episode 2, but quick spoiler warning if you've not seen the episode yet, because, well, it's called a breakdown for a reason. We're kind of talking about spoilers. It's right there. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this. So the episode opens up with another mission with the Minutemen from the TVA going to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, 1985, where you can see that some sort of Renaissance fair is going on. And there's a character here who a lot of people are thinking is maybe Agatha Harkness. I don't know if it is. I mean, she definitely looks like her. It's not Catherine Hahn, but it could be some sort of reference to that maybe it is, or maybe because it is a Renaissance fair, somebody just happens to dress up like her. Not sure if it was intentional or if fans are just reaching again, but who knows? Could have been a secret Agatha Harkness cameo, and hopefully she returns in the MCU, maybe even Doctor Strange too. But these Minutemen are searching for Nexus energy, and of course they are ambushed and attacked by this Loki variant, and one of them is actually mind controlled, which then is actually taken as a hostage by Loki, which is definitely not a good thing, because then all of that information and all that knowledge of the TVA is now in the hands of this variant. And when this variant is working against our TVA team, then that's definitely not a good thing for our heroes. But after this, we of course get the opening credits with the Loki logo flashing on us in black and white. It's really cool, showing all the different fonts of letters to represent how there's different versions and different variants of Loki in this series. That's definitely really cool. But then we get Miss Minutes quizzing Loki on basically all the TVA logic with Nexus beings and Nexus events and all that crazy logic that's kind of confusing and complicated and hard to understand, but we still talk about it and break it down for a reason. But the TVA is actually on high alert, of course, because of this attack from the Loki variant with the Minutemen in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So now Loki, Mobius, and B-15, of course, some of the other Minutemen are going to Wisconsin to investigate. And when Loki first gets there, he automatically says, this has got to be a trap, because if this Loki thinks how I would, then this has got to be a trap. This Loki wants us to go follow the hostage, go look for the hostage, and it's going to lead us right into a trap. And at the moment, we think he's lying, but by the time the episode ends, we find out he's actually telling the truth, because they do walk right into a trap from Loki, or this variant Loki. But nothing really ends up coming out of this mission here in Wisconsin, so they just prune the reality and head back to the TVA, where, because the mission was not really a success, they really didn't get anything out of it. Mobius is automatically blamed for it, like things aren't working out with this Loki variant. So he keeps defending him, and they're like, alright, let's give you one more chance. So now what Loki has to do is actually basically just go through and read a bunch of case files from the TVA and just try and figure out if he can find anything that the TVA missed, and see if he can figure out what is going on here. And this is when we get to see Tom Hiddleston really show off his acting skills, because Loki finds a file that tells him about the destruction of Asgard, with, of course, Ragnarok taking place in the Thor Ragnarok movie. So You can see the tears there, seeing like he's realizing that his people are all dead, or at least most of them, and that's not a great feeling. But at the same time, this is also actually a blessing in disguise, because he realizes that this variant Loki is actually hiding, or most likely would be hiding, in apocalypses throughout the timeline, because the timeline will not branch in off into alternate realities, since everyone is destined to die and be destroyed anyway. So if he was this variant, that's how he would think about things. And that's why Loki is so valuable to the TVA, because they're hunting down a variant of Loki, so he knows how Loki thinks. So he can actually figure out what Loki's plans might be and what think like 6 steps ahead and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. And Loki's theory here is actually tested when he and Mobius go to Pompeii, Italy, which is, of course, a big thing in history where Mount Vesuvius, this volcano, erupted and so many people died there. If you go there, some people actually were, like, encased in stone and the ash and stuff that you could actually see there. So it's a really cool thing. I remember learning about in school. So I've always thought it was a cool thing. I mean, volcanoes are cool, but definitely not a good thing that everybody died. But because they do all die, they decide to test things out. Like, will this branch off into alternate reality? So Loki just goes crazy here. He releases the goats. Can't believe he released the goats. Such a bad thing to do. And then he basically tells everybody, like, hey, I'm Loki, we're from the TVA, I'm from the future, you're all gonna die, that volcano's gonna go off. And honestly, I have no idea if they actually understood him. They seemed to, like, weren't really fazed by what he was saying. It was kind of hilarious, though. But we do actually get something out of this mission, because Mobius realizes that no Nexus energy has been detected here. There are no branch realities being created here because of what Loki just did. So this basically, again, proves his theory correct, meaning that this Loki variant most likely is hiding within some sort of apocalypse. But now the only problem is they got to figure out which apocalypse, because there's thousands and millions of apocalypses throughout the timeline, because we go anywhere from the past to the present and even the future, which is actually where we go. Because Mobius remembers back to the kablooey gum, which we saw last episode with the child in the cathedral when they pointed at the devil on the window and everybody was like, oh, Mephisto. But no, but they do a little more investigation to find out where this kablooey gum would actually exist. And then they end up figuring out that it must be in 2050 in Haven, Alabama, where Loki, Mobius, again B-15, and the rest of the Minutemen, they go on another mission here. And again, this is Loki's last chance. So if he messes up this one, then he's not getting a second chance. He's getting erased. So they go here to Roxxcart, which I believe is a huge reference to Roxxon Oil Corporation in Marvel Comics, another big corporation that's got some evil doings, led by Dario Agger. I have a feeling it might have some ties to Thor Love and Thunder because the characters set up there, especially Jane Foster Thor. She has big ties to it. We've seen this corporation in the MCU multiple times before. I actually just watched Iron Man 3 yesterday, and there was some big references to that company there. I think there were some in the first Iron Man movie as well. There's other ones throughout the MCU. But it played a big role in the Cloak and Dagger TV series actually as well. So this is obviously an alternate version of it. Might be the actual MCU version of it, or just because it's an alternate timeline or something like that. We'll have to wait and see. But during their time here, during this mission, Loki actually meets this variant, because this variant is hopping through different bodies, including Hunter B-15 and Randy and all these different characters, and is just hopping around, and Loki just keeps telling him or her, because they don't know for yet what the identity of this Loki variant is. So they keep hopping around, and Loki is like, I'm just playing the long game. I'm undercover. I infiltrated the TVA, and he's totally lying here. I think he's just saying this to get his way with Lady Loki. And he is just saying, like, you and I could team up and take over the TVA and overthrow the Timekeepers. And Lady Loki is actually like, nah, that's not what I want to do. And that's when she actually does reveal herself to be Lady Loki, which, honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of her look. Like, her crown, I feel like it just looks weird because it looks so small on her head compared to, like, her hair. But still cool. Again, we were predicting that this is Lady Loki. So there is that big reveal there. But then her plan goes into motion when all of these reset charges that she stole from the TVA are now being dropped on the sacred timeline, which will then create a bunch of branch realities, which is not a good thing at all. But then the Lady Loki is just like, peace, I'm out, and she leaves through one of these TVA portals that, again, she stole, and Loki, our Loki, actually follows her. So, obviously not a good thing for the TVA that their Loki variant just escaped, but now they're going to have to deal with that in the next coming episodes. But anyways, guys, another great episode of Loki. I'm really loving this series so far. Definitely holds up against WandaVision, the Falcon Winter Soldier, and really just this whole MCU on Disney Plus thing is just working out so well right now. I'm loving it. Can't wait to see what happens in Loki episode 3 and the other 4 episodes left of this series. Super excited for it. But guys, of course, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about Loki episode 2? And of course, all your theories and predictions as well for the rest of this series or season, because I think it's been renewed. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.